Hi everyone, this is Korosh Erfani and today is Wednesday, May 13th, 2026. I'm going to talk about one of the points of the meeting of President Trump with President Xi Jinping. This is a breaking news of many news outlets, including Al Jazeera. As you can see, President Xi, the Chinese president, is telling Trump that China and US should be partners, not rivals, right? So it's a matter of partnership instead of rivalry, and this is totally correct, because for two superpowers, two giants of economy, it would be excellent for the world, for the planet, for the humanity, that if they are partners instead of rivals, right? And they can collaborate, they can cooperate, they can help all the countries across the world so that we can have development and prosperity. So theoretically, it's very good, right? We can be sure about that. In other words, if such a thing could exist, the whole world would benefit from such partnership or cooperation. But the problem is that the United States is not an independent country, and that's the main issue for such an ideal situation that we can imagine for the collaboration and cooperation between these two superpowers. America is under control of Zionism, and Zionists are those who don't want any prosperity, any well-being, any development for the humanity. They are against all of this. They are the enemies of humanity, and they are using the United States in order to root completely the humanity out, to annihilate the human civilization, because they think that the planet belongs only and only to the race, right? To the Jews. And this is the Zionist supremacist ideology that we can find in Israel, we can find among all the Zionist network in the United States, in United Kingdom, in Europe, and elsewhere. So that's why this excellent idea suggested by President Xi cannot really come true, simply because President Xi is not really dealing with someone who can decide about his country, President Trump. Look at this. Here it is said that something like 1 million, almost 1 million Jews living in Israel, they have everything, healthcare, housing, for free, paid by Americans, paid by those people who are homeless, So which means that this country is in the service of Israel. Everything here is organized in such a way that Israel can benefit from that. So Americans are living, are working, and are paying tax only and only for the benefit of Israel, for the advantage of Zionists who are living in an occupied territory called Israel. We are talking about the Palestinian territory. So in such a country where millions of people are homeless because their money is going toward the Zionists, for 1 million Israeli paid by Americans to have free house, free healthcare, free education, and so on and so on, cannot be considered as independent. It is a colony. America was in the past the colony of the British Empire, and now is a colony of Zionist empire, the Zionist network. And they are determining here everything. Who must become, for example, House representative, who can become a senator, and who cannot, right? Like, for example, Thomas Messi. You see, he is losing his chair in House of Representatives because he was against Israeli lobby, we can say. And now Israeli lobby is mobilized to remove him. So in another development, we had a guy who is asking, the Zionist is asking Thomas Messi to be somehow tried. Why? Because he committed a treason. What is this treason? Trying to prevent the continuation of the Israeli war against Iran through the United States. So all of this is telling us that America is completely occupied by a very nasty and disgusting power called Israel or Zionism, and they cannot really do anything for themselves. Look at this. When I say nasty, means unethical, means beyond any law or anything else. This is the judge Beni Sagi. The guy was presiding over Netanyahu's corruption case, and he was killed. He was assassinated under the label of accident, right? They found a bullet shot in behind his head as a kind of suicide, right? And then thrown from the balcony. Very interesting accident. This is it. This devil force, has conquered the United States totally. Politics, economy, media, education, healthcare, money, finance, banking, everything. So when President Xi is suggesting to President Trump to be cooperative, to be partner instead of rivals and competitors, he's right. And the suggestion is completely sane and relevant. But the problem is that he's not talking with someone who has the independence to make decisions for his country. He's just a puppet. If China wants really to have peace in the region and across the world, China has to discuss directly with the boss, with Israel, with regard to the war in Iran, the future of Taiwan, for example. So all these problems could have been solved. The war with Iran, the problem of the Persian Gulf, Strait of Hormuz, or even the problem of the future of Taiwan, everything could have been solved if the United States were a real independent country. But it's not the case. It's not the case, and that's why this suggestion of President Xi cannot be really relevant because it doesn't take into account the reality of the United States, which is a colony of the Zionist entity, the Zionist network, global network. So that's why I think we are going to have a real chance of peace in the world, if there is really this independence of the United States taken back by the Americans, by the American people, right? The American nation. And from the moment this country is free from the total domination of Zionists, we can hope that with China, with Russia, with all other countries, including Iran, the United States could have effectively good relations and a peaceful, effectively, interaction, right? Till that time, what I can see is just this total domination of Zionists here in the United States will bring this country to the endless wars in the Middle East and beyond that, and will sacrifice totally the United States for the advantage of Israel. These are the realities that the American people must see. Of course, they started to see that. Now they are trying to understand really what is going on in this country, and that's why we have this kind of reaction by Americans here and there. And the problem is that it must be translated into a social movement, right? A national movement that can be called the American National Movement for Liberation of America, right? And by liberation, we mean getting this country free from this absolute entire domination of Zionism, over this country. Let's hope that. I'm going to talk more about this in the future videos, and tomorrow in the weekly talk we are going through the details of what has been negotiated between China and the United States. Thank you very much for having watched this video.